a day before graduation, her mother finds out, sends a letter saying Casey is not going to graduate with her class.
Why?
Because she's so many credits short. She was so many credits short, she's not going to graduate with her class. And instead of admonishing Casey for that, her mother was like, let's just go along with a lie. Let's just go have the party, have people bring the gifts, stuff, and we'll figure it out later. So it tells you something, just her going along with this lie. This huge lie. You're not going to graduate high school. And you didn't lie about it. You knew about it. Because not like just last minute, just like, oh, you're not graduating high school. She knew about it for at least since her junior year. And she gets up to this point, and she'll lie about it until the point she cannot lie about it.
Okay.
So it tells you a lot about her character.
So I mean,
and then her mother going around and going, at the end, was just run with the lie.
Mm-hmm. So even back then, she had some trouble with the truth.
Yeah. And it grew. And so she had to go get her GED, and after that, like even her grandparents, they came over like, how come she's not walking with her class?
Mm-hmm.
And her mother was like, oh, it's just some things we need to take care of, just things that we, just making shit up. When people bought it, they didn't really find out about it.
I mean, I'll just say this outright before we even get any further down the line.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure she got away with a lot of things in her life because she's a pretty woman.
Yeah. She's a pretty white girl.
Yeah.
She's got away with a lot of shit.
I'm sure as we get into sort of the crime and the trial as well, it's a big part of the reason why this case had such media appeal.
Yeah.
It's because she's a pretty girl.
She's a pretty girl. Like I was going back and forth. I think we told you before the show started. Going back and forth was like, if I saw her out in public,
would you recognize her?
I would recognize her because of how big her eyes are. And I don't think there's a person in this country that doesn't know who the hell Casey Anthony is.
Honestly, though, I'll be completely honest with you. Obviously, you looked into this and have been this story has been relevant for you for a while. But for a casual just bystander, if this girl passed me by in Lincoln Park, I don't think I would say that's Casey Anthony. She just looks like a regular white girl.
Yeah, true.
A pretty one, but a regular white girl.
Yeah, true.
You know?
Mm-hmm. But
until she stabs me, then I know something's going on.
Well, I think she would just drown you in chloroform and leave you by the Gino Z store here on the corner.
Nick, that's suspicious. Specific. Want to talk about something, dude?
Yes, you wait. All right, so after high school, immediately after high school, she gets pregnant. Ends up having a girl, names her Caylee. Still don't know who the father is. They try to suspect it might be one or two people, but they haven't really nailed down who.
Still to this day?
To this day, we do not know who the father is.
How is that possible?
No one's talking. Well, the person who knows truly is not talking.
But I mean, even with all the obviously forensic evidence they did on the.
Well, one of the two people that they thought might be the father was not the father.
Uh-huh.
The other person is possibly deceased. So.
Interesting. Irrelevant.
Yeah, but it's
interesting
relevant.
indeed. Yeah.
So let's get to a little bit about Caylee. Because it's the main victim of this whole thing. Bubbly little girl. Everyone loved her. Grandmother Kesley took her out, stuff, got her anything she wanted. It kind of stuck in literally Casey's grill that her mother was really treating Caylee as if that's her daughter. And might have really gotten to Casey a little bit, one of the things, but yeah, it was a weird family dynamic. Casey really had zero responsibilities, but for friends and other people who were around Casey and Caylee, that she was a really doting mother, loving, no problems, no physical abuse whatsoever. Would tell people, hey, you can't smoke around my daughter, or you'll do drugs around my daughter. Really, really doting mother. But really, financially, her parents are really footing the bill. So, but...
And they were watching the kid a lot of the time.
Watching the kid a lot of the time. Well, Casey was saying she was going to work. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So let's go to the actual disappearance of Caylee.
Okay.
All right. We get this story from various sources. We're going from what Casey Anthony's father, George Anthony, said. According to Casey Anthony's father, George Anthony, Casey left the family home on June 16, 2008, taking her daughter, Caylee, who was almost 3 years old, with her, and did not return for 31 days. Casey's mother, Cindy, repeatedly asked during the month to see Caylee, but Casey claimed that she was too busy with a work assignment in Tampa, Florida. At other times, she said Caylee was with a nanny, who Casey identified as Zonaida Zanny Fernandez Gonzalez, or Zanny the nanny, or at theme parks or at the beach. It was literally determined that the woman named Zonaida Fernandez Gonzalez did in fact exist, but never met Casey, Caylee, or any other member of the Anthony family or any of Casey's friends. On July 13, 2008, while doing yard work, Cindy and George Anthony found a notice from the post office for a certified letter affixed on their front door. George picked up the certified letter from the post office on July 15, 2008, and found that his daughter's car was in a tow yard. When George went to pick up the car, both he and the tow yard attendant noted that there was a strong smell coming from the truck. Both later stated they believed the odor was to be that of a decomposing body, but the trunk was open, carrying a bag of trash, but no human remains.
So I want to touch on the first part.
Yeah.
About the nanny.
Yeah.
So what's the, why is that mentioned here?
Because Casey was saying to people when she didn't have Caylee that she had dropped off at the nanny.
With the nanny.
Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez.
So it says in here that that person did in fact exist.
Yes.
But she had never met anybody.
She
from
put the names together. Casey Anthony put those names together. From a different neighbor that had a name Zadaya, and a different neighbor who had a name Fernandez, and a different neighbor who had a name Gonzalez. There was no one. She made this name up entirely until they figured out there was one person with that name in the state of Florida, in the city of Orlando.
Was she a nanny?
No. She had never met Casey Anthony, any of the Anthony family, or any of her friends, because she said she met Zanny the nanny through a guy she was seeing who also had a kid and was watching his kid.
And when was this claim made? After the disappearance?
This was, she had said this before the disappearance.
To whom?
To family, friends, when she didn't have Casey. Well, Caylee, excuse me.
While Caylee was still alive.
Caylee, and afterwards.
I see. So I wonder what the supposition there is. Like, what is...
I'll get into what
was the kid during the time that she was lying that she was at the nanny? But I guess you're going to get into it.
We're going to get into that. So finally, Cindy, getting sick of this, finds where Casey is. She's with this guy she's been seeing who's going to Florida Atlantic. Is it Florida Atlantic or Florida International? I think, Florida Atlantic. Mm-hmm. She's been with him for the last 31 days. They talk to him. He's like, oh, she's been calm. I haven't seen the kid. He hasn't been here, but she only mentioned that she was with the nanny. She seemed really calm. Cindy's like, okay. let's go to Andy's house. Let's go get Caylee. She takes him to an apartment building. Shows him the apartment building. Shows the apartment number that she was in, and no one's living there. There's no furniture in there. It's gone. So Casey, stuck in a lie, is like, oh my God, Caylee's been kidnapped. So Sydney reports Caylee missing that day on July 15th to the Orange County Sheriff's Office. During the same phone call, Casey confirmed to the 911 operator that Caylee had been missing for 31 days.
And she's just reporting it to the police.
Just reporting it to the police now.
Not suspicious at all.
Exactly. And even when Sydney got the car back, her car back, she she went through the car, and she said this to the operator. Mm-hmm. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today. It smelled like it had been a dead body in the damn car. Now, mind you, this is her third phone call to 911 because she called previously twice and no one showed up. Sydney. And then she confronts Casey about it, and then jigs up. So police finally come in there. Police finally get there. So they send Detective Yuri Belch of the Orange County Sheriff's Department investigating Casey's disappearance. He found discrepancies in Casey's side statement. When questioned about Casey said Caylee had been kidnapped by Zendaya Fernandez Gonzalez.
Zanny.
Yes, Zanny. Casey's nanny. Thought Casey had talked about her. Zanny had never been seen by Casey's family or friends, and in fact, there was no nanny. Casey also told police she was working at Universal Studios. This is how they found out that this was a lie. They were like, the two detectives, Yuri and another detective, was like, okay, take us to your office at Universal Studios. So she ends up going to Universal Studios. She goes to the employee entrance. The security guard has never seen Casey before. But he's like, okay, he lets her in anyway. She goes walking through the back of Universal Studios. Uh-huh. She's waving at people. They're looking like, who the hell is that? Just waving back like, okay. Finally, you take her to the floor that she sent her office in. It says at the end of the hallway. The hallway leads to a dead end.
Okay.
Finally, you get to the dead end. And she's just like...
What the hell was going through her mind when all...
She's just going through the lie, man. And just thinking that something miracle is going to show up and save her ass. And just go with the lie, man.
Okay.
She gets to the dead end, turns around, and says, I don't really work here.
The detectives are like, you let us down all this way. Just tell us this.
Yeah, you just let us down this alley. This what? So they're just like, okay, you're under arrest.
Immediately.
She was under arrest and charged the following day with giving false statements to law enforcement, child neglect, and obstruction of a criminal investigation. The judge denied bail, saying Casey is showing woeful disregard for the welfare of her child. On July 22nd, 2008, after a bond hearing, the judge sets bail $500,000.
Hey, quick lesson here, because I'm sure you know, and I don't know. When they set a bail at $500,000, they're not expecting any normal human being to pay that, right?
10%.
10% what?
10% of the $500,000 bail is used. That means you have to get a bail bondsman.
What, to get a loan, essentially?
Pretty much to come up with... To have $50,000, you pay the bail bondsman, they cover through a bond.
So 10%,
it's $50,000. $500,000 is $50,000.
That's just 10% federally.
That's 10%. Yeah, that's 10% of $50,000.
No, I'm just saying, like federally, it's just 10%.
Not federally, it's through the courts. Wherever they decide what it is, it's usually 10%.
So why not just say $50,000?
No, because your bail is $500,000. What if you go to a They want, if you do it through them, they want the whole amount.